Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Automated Advantage. Today we have Nathan Cowan on. Nathan, why don't you tell us about you, your company, and just a quick intro?
Sure. Yes, I am with ProLift Garage Doors, and that's one of the companies under the Premium Service Brands umbrella. And come from a background in franchising. Have been in this for 16 years, doing the gambit of roles. So franchising is kind of my wheelhouse. So it's kind of where I'm coming from today.
That's awesome. So maybe tell us a little bit about, what your target is and what your, I'm trying to be, respectful of your promise to prospective franchisees are and those type of things. So, what are you looking to do with folks?
Yeah, so we are a garage repair brand, a garage door repair brand that is focusing on that and garage organization, and we also do security entrance gates as well. So we're a pretty well-rounded franchise in the home repairs space, and we are probably one of the last franchises in that space left on a national level that has white space and open territory for folks. So this is a brand that I'm very passionate about growing and developing and rolling out some new service verticals this year. So it's kind of a fun time to be in that space. The garage repair space is an industry that's growing a ton. It's expected to be about a $7.6 billion industry by 2026. And largely that's because people are building homes with multiple garages and kind of realizing that it's one of the largest underutilized spaces in their home. So it's definitely getting a lot more attention these days than in the past. So it's great space to be in.
Yeah, so maybe let's rewind a little bit and so tell me us about you and your background and how you came to be in the franchise business and
Yeah, absolutely. I fell into it by accident, as many people do. I didn't set out and say this is what I want to focus on, but I bought a company with a friend of mine in college, and it was an audio visual company, and we built that up, and then turned over and sold my portion of it to him, and took some time to kind of figure out what the next steps were for me. And in that time, I started tutoring English classes at a Korean Learning Center group, and one of the days, one of the regional managers came in. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I saw your background." He's like, "You were severely underutilized, just sitting here tutoring English." And I was like, "Well, I'm just kind of figuring out what I want to do." And he's like, "No, you need to be on our franchise side." Next thing I knew, I was the area developer for like four states, and just a big part of the corporate role in developing that in the U.S. And so it was I got thrown right into it totally by accident, and just kind of built from there. I started working with a private equity group, and I was opening medical weight loss franchises and chiropractic franchises before moving into the home service space. So I've done all of that, and then went into a plumbing franchise and glass, and now garages. So it's been a very interesting, very wide spectrum of spaces that I've worked in.
and
So
I think it's interesting. I'm assuming that is you've seen in the years that you've been doing it, you've seen a shift in reasoning for people to go in business. So we had, our whole lives were turned upside down a few years ago with COVID. But I got to say, like, I feel like there's these eras in the world, right? I don't know, Y2K is a while ago, that COVID, AI, what's the shift as far as why people are, used to go into business, what the model is? Is it still the same even with AI in place? And I mean, I would say not to be rude, but I don't think Pro Lift Doors is the forefront of any AI technology. So
yeah, massive shifts in the industries in general. Post COVID, you had a lot of people in the medical, not necessarily necessary services, but in medical industries and finance, especially, who realized that all of a sudden their um, work was not as reliable as they thought. So we saw a massive influx of people from financial industries, especially, start coming into franchising. And what happened there was prior to that, it was all people from those industries that just wanted the business structure. And now we started seeing all these people come in that were very financially savvy, but zero technical skills. So I think home service franchises in general over the last few years have really been furiously working to ramp up the technical side of this business, where in the past it was all of the business acumen and financials that we had to coach to pretty heavily. So that was a huge shift post COVID. The clientele totally changed, which required adjusting the models to provide support in those specific areas. AI has also kind of done that a little bit in the sense that it turned all of the traditional marketing processes on their head, and it's been a total kind of reset of how we look at marketing strategies and where the customers are in general. So, the challenge has been taking all of these people and kind of re-educating them and getting them used to just pumping out a tons of local content and trying to engage with the AI pieces as best they can on those platforms. So re-education all over again, but on a digital front. So,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a fair comment as far as the models are concerned. Because you and I did speak many, many years ago. I had a franchise, and I did the you had to do the funnel thing. I need so many deals, and then I used to take those big boxes to the mail carrier and go do my mailing and that type of stuff, which is now significantly different.
yeah, yeah, and very focused on YouTube. Surprisingly,
Hmm.
the AI piece is very, very YouTube centric, which is not a space that in the past, home service brands had to engage with to that capacity to get traffic. So it's been interesting.
Yeah. So if somebody's sitting at home and they say, you know what, I'm done with my corporate job. All these suddenly we seem to be in the week of massive layoffs again, and whatever it is. Like, what is the messaging to those folks that are a franchise? It doesn't matter which one of them that you guys represent, but what's the fundamental messaging?
Yeah. So uh, the fundamental messaging and the way to avoid stumbling blocks and for it to be just problematic in general is preparation. I mean, that's the number one word there. Making sure that you've got your funding lined up and that you are really, really prepared for what it costs to launch a business in the first year. It is a ton of work. And in all of the industries I've been in, typically I see owners fully engaged versus semi absentee being much, much more successful. And so I would put a lot of weight into thinking that through. If you don't have the funding for a franchise up front and you're thinking about working in another capacity while this gets up and going, it's very challenging. So you want to make sure that you've got really good management that you can trust if you're not going to be the one operating the business. I would say too that most new franchisees get very caught off guard by how aggressively you have to market and what you need to invest in marketing up front to really make yourselves present. And so I think marketing investment, just really being prepared and having good people lined up. The other piece is very aggressive plan for what that first year launch process looks like. Being aware of what next steps are in terms of your scaling, what are your resources there, and really leveraging the systems that franchises have. One of the single biggest resources we have for ProLift is a group chat where all of them are just sharing best practices and ways to install gates and garages and different things that they are struggling with. And so the knowledge that you gain from the systems is critical, and the owners of small businesses that don't lean into those networks are the ones that struggle the most. So trust the systems, lean into those systems, and leverage what you paid for, that knowledge that's in the systems. So
Yeah, I think, and I like your comment or the thought kind of conversation around people thinking, and it's, these different people sell things differently, and I'm not saying you guys do, but it's like seeing, hey, work 4 hours a week and make $300,000 a month, and it's like, yeah, I don't think it works like that. And I've,
yeah,
everything that I think I've ever been into is, lean in, like you said, take advantage of it, but it is hard work. It is not a It's not a money printing thing from day one. It's what you put in is what you get out. And then I think your point is valid in higher trusted advice. My friend had a fast food franchise, and he was 2 states away, and suddenly he was like, I don't know why I'm losing money, and people they realized they were shoveling buns out the back door and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You have to be invested. And I would say too, like, you want to look at franchises in general that may not necessarily be shiny and gimmicky, but that are kind of tried and true. The home service franchises in general, we joke, aren't very sexy. Nothing sexy about dryer vent cleaning and garage doors, but they're very reliable. They scale well, and it's very easy to stack franchise, and that's a very common thing now. A big trend in franchising is just stacking brands that are complementary to each other. And so, home service brands in particular are very easy to stack and build on. It's definitely been my experience. If I were to buy one, it would be something that's not so sexy, but I know is going to be around for a long time.
yeah, well, what's that old book Millionaire Next Door, right? The porta potty rentals or whatever it is. It's like, I mean, when you're talking about that, pretty much every house, let's say, I mean, probably 90% of the houses have a garage door. Some have
Yeah,
carports, and I would say
yeah,
90% have garage doors. And I know I've been the recipient of it breaking halfway up or halfway down and needing to have somebody come and take care of it.
yeah, yep. And it's dangerous too. I think a lot of people assume that they can do some of these handyman projects themselves, and they're just not do-it-yourself projects. I think I read something the other day that 30,000 people end up in the emergency room a year trying to mess with the springs on their garage door. So that, I mean, there are a lot of things that you can't do in your home on your own, and that's definitely one of them. So
Yeah. Or you're fixing the gas heater, the water heater. Trust me, I learned the hard way when there was so many explosions going on, and I was like, I don't know what that is, and somebody came in and told me that I should leave the house right and well because it's about to blow up.
yeah, I tried to work on a sprinkler system once, and it was like that whack-a-mole game. Like fix one, and all of a sudden one of them would start shooting. I was like, this is definitely not a project I'm equipped to do. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, and talk me through now, like in your role, like what does a day look like? What are you doing? How are you supporting the franchise? Are you bringing them in, training them? What's your day
yeah.
look like?
I think so. Premium service brands is a little bit smaller of a home service group compared to the big guys, and so we are a little bit more hands on still and very involved in the process overall. One of the things that we take very seriously now is the vetting process for owners coming in. Do they have the financial stability and cash flow to be successful in year one and spend what they need to spend? Do they have business acumen, and are they going to be willing to lean into the system and adopt the system and strengthen the brand with that alignment there? And so I'm very involved in the development process and the new franchise discussions. I meet with them kind of first and level set expectations and then organize meetings with them and our existing owners so they get a well-rounded picture there. My role is pretty broad as the brand president. Like my biggest focus is moving the brand forward. How do we drive revenue? How do we stay ahead of trends? How do we innovate and you know really provide our owners the support and infrastructure they need to operate in an efficient way and make it very easy for them to work with us. So I'm kind of that facilitator between the owners and what we're rolling out from a corporate side and the voice for what will and won't work and where there's going to be bottlenecks and that kind of stuff. So very engaged with my owners. I do coaching calls still because I like to be engaged in the operations of our locations and understand what those challenges are firsthand. So I do coaching calls and I do development and I work on long term marketing plans and website development and everything I possibly can just to make sure that our brand is being really that we're focusing on best interest of our owners. So
Mhm.
It's a pretty broad role. I've got a director of ops that works for me. That works really closely with our new owners, and we are a pretty small group, but pretty powerful for what we get done and the support we provide. It's kind of my
Yeah, no, kind of you keep going into it's a similar theme as far as um, the effort that's put in, and but I think we didn't really dig into, and I wanted to validate the whole lean into the program, right? I mean, you guys have, and I mean, I'm trying to think of a garage door analogy, but it would you've probably seen every angle of it, and hey, it's stuck, and some guy calls another guy or uses the chat, and he's like, I've got this. And the other guy, yep, that happened to me. Go over here, jump on your left foot 3 times and knock it over here and it'll
yeah.
open. Like that's the like the community that you feel a part of. You got the Brigger brand, you got the name recognition, and it gives you something to stand behind as opposed to, Johnny's garage door fixes and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the vendor relationships, I'm very involved in making sure that we have vendors that are engaged in making sure our owners get what they need at the best price. And um, that part is really important for being innovative and competitive in a market where you've got a lot of mom and pop guys that may be doing it for dirt cheap, but the quality is lacking there, and the parts are subpar. So that right mix of quality and customer service and price is really important. Um, yeah.
And how are you? I mean, it sounds like a silly question, but how are you attracting people? I mean, you talk about marketing and things like that. What are the typical avenues that
So,
you leveraging?
yeah. So um, most of the people coming in are ex finance guys and folks that have pretty strong financial acumen. And so, the growth metrics and performance from the brand overall and ticket averages are something that we really focus on to show that the investment is worth it, and it's going to be a really good long-term investment. um, we are one of the few national brands left that do garage repair, which makes us very appealing to private equity and larger groups that want to buy franchises because they typically want more space at a time. And it's a great opportunity for resale for our owners. So from an exit strategy standpoint, that's very appealing. We've also shifted a ton of our focus over this last year to a heavier mix on light commercial, just because the home space is so aggressively competitive, and the margins there are lower and ticket averages are lower. So we have definitely had a big shift in the last year and a half towards a more mix of light commercial. So we're doing a lot of apartment complexes, multi-unit housing, and all of that stuff to drive bigger ticket averages and open our customer base up. And so the few things that are really appealing right now are the fact that we've got pretty good networks for the light commercial space and have that nailed down pretty well. But then adding in these additional service verticals so that we can do more work and repeat work in the same garage, with cross-selling the organizational components, and those pieces are very, very appealing for people as well. So, the customers are hard to get in the home service space. So if you've got one and you can cross sell them on other things, it's a much better way to operate there. So, I think that's a big appealing point for us, is just diversifying what our service offerings are there. And that's kind of the trend in franchising overall. We're seeing a lot more vans on the road that are HVAC, heating, plumbing. It's a combination of services. And I think that's just the way that franchising is headed. So, we're always trying to stay ahead of those curves with what our services look like, and building on what makes sense for us. So
Yeah, and I like that angle that you mentioned as far as, I mean, I don't want to say it's obvious, like you want to, hey, somebody wants to go into business and they want to have a home business and want to start their own thing. But the whole private equity thing is an interesting angle. I mean, that's, much more of a B2B angle than it is the traditional B2C angle.
yeah, it is definitely, I would say, in the last 8 years become a very, very heavy part of franchising. A previous franchise group that I was with, as I was kind of starting to look for an opportunity to move up and advance my career. uh, that very aggressively involved in private equity, and a lot of areas were purchased by private equity who are injecting a ton of money into marketing, and that whole piece for franchising is a challenge just because they come with so many of their own resources that it's kind of a dance with uh, maintaining that the structural integrity and the appeal of franchise with your branding and all of that stuff while still supporting them when they have massive organizations with tons of accounting people and marketing specialists. And so it's a very interesting thing that has happened in franchising with private equity coming in. It's great for owners because they're selling these franchises to private equity for probably more than they ever get from another owner. But yeah, it's been a growing pain, I would say, for any franchise group that is very involved with private equity these days, but very much so a big part of franchising.
And so, and the other thing is thinking aloud and thinking about, our traditional franchises of the McDonald's and the whatever it is that, that it's all about repeatability and you had the same experience. And so I know you talked about your role in training and things like that. And so I've got to believe that that's kind of difficult, right? I mean, you've got to set standards. You've got to set, so if I move from Virginia today to California and I pick this, like I want the same experience. How difficult has that been to maintain a level of service and consistency?
That's a great question. With private equity, it's very difficult. With just your general network of franchisees, I think that trust and that kind of give and take on the brand alignment piece, very much so it hinges on the initial training, but then also being present in the field and visiting locations and doing regional meetings and reinforcing that in person at those types of things, and sales training for technicians and some of that stuff is very very critical to maintaining that. Some brands like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and others are hyper aggressive about those standards, and you have to really navigate the guidelines around that, and there's quite a bit of big slap on the hand if you're not doing it correctly. I would say home service brands, in my experience, have been a little bit less aggressive about that brand alignment, but we're seeing a shift towards that just because um, it's really important piece that's understated. But it's been a lot easier to also hold people accountable to that with AI, because there are a lot of really cool platforms out there that can listen into your technicians' interaction with the customers and grade them on their experience. And it provides you the opportunity to kind of do virtual ride alongs and grade them on that process without having to physically be in the field. So I think that's where AI has really been beneficial from a training standpoint and from a brand alignment standpoint on holding those guys accountable to how they're interacting with customers.
Mhm. And I think as well, when I mean, I told you that I did it for a couple of years, and yeah, I mean, I think the other level of comfort that people tend to have is that there is a bigger company, a bigger name behind it. And let's just say, for whatever reason, whether it's positive or negative, somebody passes away or something like that, they've got the bigger corporation to lean in on for warranty or whatever it is. Is that a big piece of it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in home service franchises, because warranty work is a big piece of the business and a lot of the repeat work. So I think we've got. I think a big component there is the warranties we get from our suppliers. Making sure that we've got really good product warranties. And then our owners are just super passionate about truly making sure that the customers are satisfied and their Google ratings and all of those pieces. So um, that is a massive part of home service brands for sure. And so much so that we even have like a program to help people with the labor portion of it if the materials are faulty or something like that that need to be replaced. So yeah, that's a big component for us.
Yeah, no, that's. I think there's a lot of benefits to that. So we're coming close to the end of our time now, and I think this was a really interesting conversation. Little different to some of the conversations I had, and it's a unique business opportunity. So take the time again. Just tell us website, company name, how to find you guys. Or this is your commercial.
Yeah. Well, I try to be an open book and available to people that have questions about franchising in general. So always happy to provide my contact information. Um, Premium Service Brands is our kind of our parent company, and we've got nine concepts right now, and that's all things from glass cleaning and pressure washing to plumbing and garage repair and painting, and so we've got quite a big portfolio of home services, and we are really big on stacking and making sure that owners can offer multiple services in an efficient and cost effective way. So that's really huge for us as a brand. ProLift Garage Doors, it's a proliftdoors.com is our website. And if you go to the Premium Service Brands website, we've got links to all the different brands. And if you want to have a conversation with one of our team to kind of explore it deeper, then that's all available right there on that website, or they can reach out to me and I can push them wherever they're interested.
So there you have it, folks. Look at the opportunity to run your own business. Put the effort in, put the work in, lean in on the system, and you could have a very successful business in the home services business. So, Nathan, I really appreciate your time today. I know you've been traveling a lot, and I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anytime.